It's high noon in Stouffville and time for Stouffville Now, a twice-weekly journal of everything noteworthy from across the four corners of our vast region. Let Stouffville Now provide you with relevant facts and unique perspectives from the stories that are important to you. We're off on a fascinating journey, hearing from diverse guests and poignant commentators that flourish across the hills and boroughs of Whitchurch, Stouffville. Sit back, relax, and let us flip the pages for you. Here's Stouffville Now, your comprehensive noonday magazine.
And the series marches onward. We're so excited to have Ward Councillor Phil Bannon in the studio this afternoon to discuss all of the happenings in Ballantrae, or Ward 2. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Sarah. I want to thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to come out and have this discussion with you and for the residents of Stouffville to get some sort of update and upbeat on what's happened in Ward 2, Ballantrae.
United Soils is in Ward 2, correct?
United Soils is in Ward 2, yes.
And from what I understand, Alex Cloak, the CEO?
Yes.
And yourself, among others, big, huge corporations in your region, you're working very hard to establish great working relationships with business, community, and some of that stuff is really cutting edge. I also know Geranium is looking to develop in Musselmans, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you've done to establish those kind of relationships and why maybe you wanted to preserve the what were you working on those kind of community business approaches for?
When I was first elected, the community of Ballantrae and Musselman's Lake and Ward 2 were basically dysfunctional when it came to an administrative operation. What we had in Musselman's Lake, we had about 6 or 7 different neighborhood groups with their own committees, with their own leadership and their own funding. And when they needed something from the town, they would contact me or they would contact the town independent of me. So there was not a good level of communication, and there wasn't a good approach when it came to addressing issues in their community with town council. You can't have 5 people approaching the town from 5 different areas from the same community like that, asking for 5 different issues. So what I did is I approached the community leaders who I identified in the community, and they're very, very strong, executive-style, hard-working people who have significant business interests, successful in life, whether in entrepreneurship and or writing and or just presence in the community. And I asked them to join with me and join the community together and form one organization, and that is the Musselman's Lake Residents Association. That association has been in place now for close to 9 years now. It's a strong association, one of the strongest associations I have ever had the pleasure of working on. And that was my business in Toronto, was forming associations and working with community groups. So I did have some experience and background in that, bringing that to the table here in Musselman's Lake. What I found with that, once we had the personalities in place, there was a faction, a small faction in Musselman's Lake that were anti-association and anti-independence of an association moving forward and working with council. But what we found through this association and the ability that we had to communicate with each other was they had a stronger voice at council. It was one voice, and it was a voice that was supported by the 6 or 7 different community groups. So it was easier for me to carry their message to council and easier for council to understand their message and deal with it. When you have 5 people bringing different messages, you have 5 different answers and replies coming back. So that's not an easy issue for council, the mayor and council, to deal with. It's hard to satisfy 2 people here, 1 person here, 1 person here. So now we're dealing with a representation of 600 people, 600 to 700 people, which is just a tremendous positive impact on the community and what we've been able to achieve together in the community. So now what I found, once we had strong representation from within the residential component, I started forming groups like the Roads and Community Safety Committee. And what we looked after there is we looked after issues like road conditions, sidewalk concerns, lighting concerns, water concerns, and residential concerns, and use that committee as our strong point for adding safety measures, sidewalks and lighting and markers for vehicle traffic in the area, identifying the concerns in regards to the speeding of vehicular traffic, the safety of pedestrian traffic on Ninth Line as you work your way through the lake. So those safety measures include future discussions in regards to sidewalks and street lighting around the lake in the Ninth Line area. Also, street markings. We had a terrible situation, just a terrible situation about 4 years ago, where a young couple of lads were northbound on Ninth Line, and the vehicle was traveling at a high rate of speed. They lost control of the vehicle, and it resulted in a fatality. Very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. And we made some significant changes to the road at that time as well. We put markings on the road, slow down markings. We put stripe markings on the road. We put community markings up, in introducing people to the community, welcome to the community, safe driving. We put flashing safety lines up. We put up some new guardrails. We put up some new markings there as well. And what I have is we have such a strong bond, such a great working relationship with the association, and they have established such a strong presence in the community with their newsletters, with their community meetings, and with their website. They have an unbelievable website, and they reach out to all of their residents in the community. Their membership is in that 600 to 700 area, so people are focusing on the information flow, on the content of that website. And we can get the message out a lot quicker through that network. Working together, we really provide a good network of communication for the residents up there. So I feel that they're upbeat, I feel that they're informed, and I feel that we're all in line with the same message. The association has done a great job of helping me with that. They've been very proactive, very progressive. And as of recently, as of 2 days ago, I met with the owner of the land on the west side of Ninth Line coming into Musselman's Lake near the water tower. And concerns are that we have the motocross vehicles there and the ATV vehicles in there. And it's difficult to address those issues because, residents complain about the noise. They call the police. The police take an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there because it's not a high priority call. And they don't have the equipment necessary to follow up on the investigation, to pursue these matters through that land. So what we've done is we've worked with the police to make sure that they now have the equipment. 2 days ago, we were working with the owner to identify the needs to restrict the ability of these ATVers and cross-country motocross vehicles to get into that land. So the association was there. I had the police there. I had our town staff, roads and operations crew there. We had the regional crews staff there. And we had the owner of the property. And we've identified the need to block off some entrances to that area. And we're going to be erecting some concrete structures there and some new gates and some new fences and poles. And so what we have now is we have the police on board and our bylaw enforcement staff on board, so that when people see somebody who is breaking the law, somebody who's trespassing, somebody who is doing something they shouldn't be doing, we have the ability now to call the local bylaw enforcement office, to call the YRP, which is the York Regional Police, and they'll respond to those calls, knowing exactly where the concerns are and what the concerns are. People should be aware of how to contact the authorities when we do have issues like that, instead of becoming frustrated and taking it out on the local authorities through an editorial in the paper that actually results in nothing, and it makes everybody aware of a problem that we all knew about. But if we're not working together to resolve the issue, it's never going to get resolved. So what I've needed to do to move forward with all these issues is I've needed corporate sponsorship. I needed help. 6 years ago, as part of my platform running in the 2007 election, I said that I will institute a lake management stewardship program for the lake. This is a privately owned body of water. we as an authority, as in the town and the region, have no authority to deal with anything on the lake. But we've taken the initiative to put together a stewardship plan that included the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority. It included the region of York, the town of Stouffville, and the residents up at the lake through the association. And we've invested a significant amount of money in making an effort to promote and encourage residents to restrict the flow of what we could call pollutant water going into the lake. That being fertilizer, that being sewage waste, that being overflow water, dirty water. And we as a town have taken on our responsibility too, and we've reduced the amount of salt that we use on the road up there. Right now, I think we're in the area of 8% salt for our application on the roads during the winter. So we're all working together to do that. But we continue to improve, and the only way that we can actually do that is through sponsorship program, because there's only enough money, there's only enough labor, there's only enough people out there to work. So I approached Mr. Cloak, who represent the United Soils Management, and I've approached Geranium Homes, who are building up in Ballantrae, not necessarily in the lake. They have just introduced a new community that they're going to be building on 9th Line, and they've taken such a positive approach to supporting our efforts to improve the lake, to clean the lake, to provide safety measures for the community, to turn this into a more of a progressive, caring, sensitive community, and supporting the efforts of the Conservation Authority and the town through me and the region. And it's such a positive mood. It's a win-win situation for everybody here, because we're getting the corporate dollars through a good community sponsor, a good community partner who wants to invest in the community because they want to grow in the community and they want to be part of the community over the long term.
That's incredibly innovative, so insightful, and I see that you sit on a number of these committees personally.
I do, yes, indeed. Yeah, and it's nice to have that insight. You know, yeah. I sit on the accessibility board as well, and I sit on the hospital board, and I sit on the Evergreen Hospice board, and I sit on a couple of cancer boards, and the local community board. And when you have the opportunity to be exposed, in a good term here, to the different elements in the community, the different peoples, the different progressive thinking, advanced thinking, and how people want to and what they want to do in the community, and to be supportive of each other and work together is such a positive benefit to not only Ward 2, Ballantrae, Musselman's Lake, but to Stouffville as a whole.
Absolutely. So impressed by what you just told me there. Maybe it was your life in public service or a service to the community through your previous career that would allow you to go that extra mile. Because to me, that's a go that extra mile situation to make the ward function positively and progressively.
And when you look at things, I'm more of a proactive initiator on projects and community efforts, again, because that's something that I've carried forward from my previous employment.